Welcome to the Expansive CEO podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Chapman, founder of Expansive CEO and X Squared Wealth Planning. Buckle in as we explore how to create true prosperity and build a business and a life that expands beyond yourself and makes a dent in the universe. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I am your host, Hannah Chapman, and today I am with Andrew Ybarra, who is the owner of Lifted AV Productions. And we're going to talk all about events and creating transformational events for your clients. And I'm so excited. So Andrew's specialty is creating unique events that use a clear event vision process, aligned preparation, and fluid execution so that the experience that your clients have is co-created, goal-oriented, and all with your brand essence being amplified. And Andrew, that's a lot. I said a lot of words. Tell me and tell the audience a little bit more about who you are, how you got here, and why you do what you do in the event space.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me again, Hannah. Just honored to be here and to be sharing. So yes, my name is Andrew Ybarra, and I love events. I love live events. It's been such a journey to get here. And it was not the route that I expected, but it was the route that the universe has been building for me all along. I got my start in audiovisual from when I was in high school. I started to volunteer for a church that needed sound. Had no idea what I was doing. I had never studied AV, didn't know much. I had two CD players and a small mixer, and just started pushing buttons and turning knobs until I eventually learned, what some of these things did. And fast forward years later, I was a DJ, working my way through college, fell in love with music on another level, just being able to share, seeing the experiences that music brought to people. And that led me to some very interesting routes in audiovisual, and being here in the Bay Area, got to do some really incredible things with companies in Silicon Valley, and learned my way through production and what it takes to put on these large productions, for these amazing companies. And then I found the coaching industry, and it saved my life because I was not happy with what I was doing. I was, yeah, just at a place where I didn't know if I wanted to be an audiovisual anymore. I was like, maybe there's something else out for me. Like, I know that I was meant for more. I don't know what that is. I'm feeling lost. And I found communities of people that were heart-centered, that were working on themselves, that were supporting others, that were diving deep, and it just called to me. And I knew that I wanted to give my gifts, um, in a way that was very meaningful, and in a way that was helping people, in a way that was continuing to help the way that I felt loved. And so to be a vessel for that. And so that's what led me to starting my company and committing myself to learning as much about audiovisual and live events in the transformational coaching industry as possible. And it's allowed me to do some incredible things, to work with some incredible clients in the industry here, helping them create 6, 7 figure events in a weekend, and helping their businesses be profitable so that they can continue this work of up leveling the evolution of humanity and the consciousness here on the planet, and really helping us dive into deeper of like who we are underneath, so that you know we don't uh we don't feel that pain, of being lost.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the way that you just shared that. It feels like that's the purpose, right? Like why do we do what we do in any coaching or transformational space, right? Like any client that I have, that most of my clients are in the service industry in some way, right? They serve clients, and all of them want to have a positive impact on their clients. They want to help them feel successful or seen or heard, or whatever that is. And it really does I know, from my own experience with coaching too, like being able to see yourself fully and then be in a room where other people are like seeing you fully and still like exuding love and acceptance, right? Like that's
Mm.
I feel like that's what we need as humans just in general.
100%. Yeah, like we're all mirrors for each other, right? Like seeing life through our own lenses. And yeah, when we come together in community with intention,
Mhm.
that's where magic happens. That's where, these transformational things happen where it really shifts, individuals, and things are created, miracles happen at events. That's it. That's exactly it. And events and community is just ingrained in our beingness. This is a new level of that. It's something that's been around, but the industry now, like what people are able to create is just it's a whole nother level.
Mm. So I want to actually bring it not a case study necessarily, but as we were talking and before we started recording, um, I started thinking about like a client, like literally a client that I have, um, who is wonderful. I have worked with him for like, gosh, like over 2 years at this point, and he's an awesome person. And he's had this vision consistently for the past couple of years of doing big events. He's also in the financial space, which is really cool, in a little bit different way than I am. And like, so he's got this vision of like bringing together a large group of people and helping them understand their business finances in a better way so that they can be more confident about their financial future as a business owner, right? So again, beautiful transformational experience. That's what he wants to create with his
Mhm.
clients. And so I would love to like explore that. So like what would someone do? Like how would they go about creating or envisioning, right? I've got so just like him, he's got the vision already. He's like I can see it in my mind's eye, like what it but then how do you do that? How do you co-create that?
I love that. Yeah, would love to dive into that. And it's so interesting that you say that because all of my clients, that's the way that it always starts. Is it's like a vision. It seems like it comes from beyond, right? And it's kind of channels through. Like I think there's this thing that wants to come through me in the form of an event, in a form of, creating community, creating this experience for people to come together, like to be of service to a greater extent. And so, first of all, that's just beautiful, and I would say to follow that thread because that's where magic happens. And so always, starting with the vision, and that's what we do anytime we're, beginning to form an event is starting with that vision and working our way backwards from there, right? So kind of reverse engineering. Well, what do we want it to look like? How do we want to be of service to people? What do they want to get out of the event? How do you want them to walk away feeling? And, what do you want them to understand after that? After the experience, and what do you want them to be able to implement right away? And who are the people that you want into the room? So those are just a few of the questions to ask to really get specific about some of the vision that might be there. And then from there, it becomes easy because once the vision is really formed and it's concrete and you have a great foundation, can build on top of that. Oh, well, the experiences that will be throughout the event, they kind of build themselves because we know what we want them to feel. We know that we want them to receive in regards to information. So all of that becomes kind of built in based on that end goal of like, what do we want them to feel? What do we want them to learn, right? What do we want them to experience? So that's everything that we do is based off of that vision from, the music to, the graphics and the way that the information is shared and the experiential pieces, like all of those are based on that vision. So that's the place where we always start.
And then from there, so once you've got this like more fleshed out piece of okay, what's the vision? What's the end result? How do you want people to feel? What do you want them to be able to, implement all of that? I love that overarching piece. What then does it look like from, okay, so we've got it planned, and we're marketing this thing and we're selling tickets and all of that, like what's next? Does it
Mm.
does your team then come in like on that weekend or that day and like support everything? Yeah, I've been to, okay, so I've been to events.
Mhm.
I've never thrown a big, like, supported event of my own. And so, yeah, to me, this also seems like I know it happens. I'm also a musician, and I've worked in like the back of house, right, for events, right? I've done
Mhm.
some of that. So I know like the load out and the load in and the lights and all that kind of stuff. Is it literally like a full on like production setup that you're working with?
It is. It always is. I mean, it's at least a day, sometimes multiple days for setting up, once we get on site. So, as we go through our process, we, make sure we're aligned the whole way through and that we're continuing to focus on that vision. There's a lot of structure that we then bring to the production piece of like, okay, here are the exact dimensions of the room. We need to know how to fill the whole room with sound. This is how many speakers we're going to need. From the back of the room, we need to get projectors or LED walls that they're gonna be able to see clearly from the back of the room, from every corner of the room. So all of those pieces of like bringing in the structure, having team ready, the equipment that needs to arrive there and get executed. I mean, it's definitely a full-on production for a lot of these events that we're doing on every level, because even if it's a smaller event that is more of a fulfillment event, there's still a level of production and experience that we're bringing, and all of those details matter. So that's definitely a core belief for us and for being in this industry, is having the production piece really dialed in, and a lot of those details planned out, because once we're there, we're on a certain timeline and the energy is building, like clients will be arriving. And so we start to feel that energy just start to build. And that's kind of the beginning of the arc that begins to form of the
Mm.
experience.
Oh, yeah. And so I know from, and again, experiences in like front of house, back of house, as a participant, different things like that, feeling supported. Also as a speaker, right? I've been on stage for different events like this when the equipment is working, when it's not working, right? That's actually one of the places where you really see a team like come in like, oh, this thing isn't working. Having a team that can actually come in and support like really quickly to get
Mhm.
everything back on track so that it doesn't feel, the audience doesn't feel left out or anything like that. Like it's so important to have that support. And the thing that we were also talking about and that I was thinking as you were talking, like I have met with people before and I've had conversations, really interesting conversations where, people have asked from the financial standpoint, like, well, how do I write off everything from this event? How do I do this retreat or do this thing and just make sure, it like zeroes out? And these are coaches and healers and people who are like, they need to make money from this event
Mhm.
in order literally to like buy food and pay their rent, and things like that, or their mortgage. And so they're asking me these questions, I remember feeling just like not confused, but this feeling of, why would you not want to make more money? Why do you want to put on an event where you're just breaking even rather than being able, yes, you will have to pay taxes if you make money. That's kind of the way it works in most areas here in the US anyway, right?
Mhm.
But we build that in and you build a process so that like when you make money, you're saving this amount for taxes. This is the amount that the event costs, so that's covered, and then you get to pay yourself. And by get to, I mean you need to be throwing events where the point is that you can pay yourself
Mhm.
and have like create prosperity for your family too, right? And so when we're talking about especially larger scale events, um Really any size event really, but especially when we're talking about like load in and, days of support and lots of AV equipment, that costs something. And so we need to be able to like price out an event and make it profitable so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing. So I would love to hear your take on like how you help people um, from that aspect as well. Like, what do we need to do in order to make events profitable so we can keep doing them?
It's so important. It's so important, right? I mean, the reason that so many of my clients are able to support so many people and do this deep work and really have an impact is because their businesses are profitable. And events are a lot of the times a part of that business model. And so totally agree that, to continue to make the impact, like it's important to think about this as a moneymaker, right? And an amplifier of energy. And so yes, so let's start with what it looks like to have that big vision. So back to kind of what we touched on earlier was like when we're forming that vision of, okay, how do we want the participants to feel and what do we want to create? What's the experience we want them to have? The next thing would be to like, what is our goal here? What is our goal for the number that we want to hit? It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy for you as the leader, for team, for the investments of different pieces like AV or having an event planner, having the venue, some of those pieces, and having a clear plan to be able to make it profitable and cover all of those pieces. And a lot of the times my clients, this is how they get clients, right? They put a lot of energy into the event, and then that's how they receive clients. That's how they receive more money and energy into the business. And so, in the same way that we reverse engineer the event from the vision standpoint, we reverse engineer from the end goal standpoint. So, say we want to make six figures, right? Say it's that $100,000 mark. That's the profit that we want to receive. It's like, great, let's reverse engineer from there. How do we want to break it up with, what is the cost of your program, or what is the cost of the ticket for the event? Do we want ticket sales to cover all of the expenses? Um, and just to put it out there too, there are multiple kinds of events. There are events where the ticket sale is a little bit higher and it's more experiential. There are types of events that are summits and you have more speakers that are coming. There are, yeah, more retreat style events. So whatever the goal is, we can still reverse engineer with whatever your type of event that you're hoping to create from that. And then also building in, then based on the conversion rates of like, okay, what are the conversion rates typical with this in this industry that you typically have with your clients that you may be having conversations with, and building that into the event. And kind of, you can see where this is going with the
Mhm.
formulas, and I'm sure, your clients having like spreadsheets and being able to track all of these pieces, but we'll get you to the information of like how many people we want at the event, what the ticket sales need to be, and what that's going to look like with all the expenses covered, so that at the end of the day, after all is said and done, like it just feels so good in your body where you're just like, "Ah, poured all my heart into this. I gave it my all," like, and you get to receive so much back into that, and all of that energy you put in is just amplified. So that's what we like to see for all of our clients so that they can continue to do the work and continue that transformation.
Yeah, and one of the things that you said before that I hadn't put this together, even when I had like told that story before, was that anyone who comes from like a corporate event planning background, right? Or like anything where, it's like you have a budget to put on an event, right? You're not looking for profit. You're literally just looking to use up a budget for a
Mhm.
corporation, right? And so it's a very different outcome, right? Or you're planning for something different. You're planning for the outcomes that the people will have, right? That's important. But it's not looking at, okay, how is this going to support my family or support my business, support my financial goals, right? That's not part of the planning process. Um, for, corporate events. And so this is another it's another really interesting kind of like mindset shift, right? For anyone who's maybe been in corporate or was in corporate or did events for corporate places like that. This is the shift. This is the entrepreneurial financial mindset shift that we have to work through.
Exactly. Yeah. It's if there is a lot of residue when it comes to events, and a lot of corporate has led the way with in the events industry. And I worked in corporate, doing these events for a while, and that's how that was the mindset. The vision was, here's what we have to spend, how do we want to spend that? And just looking at it from that standpoint. Okay, let's do this, let's do this. Nope, we're not going to do that. We don't, we're not going to upgrade the food, or we're not going to add these extra lights in because that's we're already capped at our budget. As opposed to, when you think about it, like, what's the end goal of having that overflow afterwards, of having that energy and that money come back into the business and amplify. Then you make decisions from a different standpoint, right? And you start to kind of see, okay, this does mean a lot, and this would this one decision does help to amplify our brand, and is a representation of who we are and our core values. So we're going to do it because we believe in that, and we want people to work with us, and we want them to see us. So it just starts to be a little bit of that, like you said, that shift from, from one mindset to the other. It definitely is a mindset shift. Events are a portal and a mirror, just like everything else that we do. And so it's a journey. But yeah, those that are headed in that direction, like, we'll start to see as they pull that apart, like, some of those things that come up are things that can get shifted in a beautiful way. So all happening for us.
Mm. So I want to hear about some of your best experiences, or maybe like both sides, right? Um when can you recall an event that was like amazing and everything just like worked and flowed and the result was awesome? And then when was it not so flowy? When was it more, when were there more hiccups? Do you have maybe some like stories that you can share for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have I always have recency bias when it comes to some of these things, but I luckily I have examples of both of those in the past like 6 months. So the first I'll share is yeah, my favorite event that I've done thus far, and it was for a client that put on her very first event. And she wanted to just she was so committed to pouring energy into this, and to having this be what helps her to break through to that next level, that next tier. And her goal was a seven-figure event, and she did multiple seven figures at this
Wow.
event. And so some of that was going to expenses and things that needed to get covered for the event. But still, to have that, I mean, that kind of energy just pouring through for her as a vessel, like, just helped her to break through exactly those goals of getting to where she wanted to be, and then some. And on my for my experience, it was just so fun. I mean, everything was so intentional. We worked so hard on the music, on the graphics. We had a giant LED wall that displayed these like beautiful custom graphics that were moving with logos and information, and the sound system was incredible. It was a very intuitive event, and so sometimes, there's a spectrum of how programmed do we want this event to be versus how intuitive do we want this to be. And every
Mm,
event we do falls somewhere on that spectrum, and this was more leaning towards that middle but far end of that intuitive side.
mm,
And so what that means for us as a team, and especially one of the things we do at Lifted AV, is we're able to stay focused and stay tapped into the event goals that our clients and hosts are tapped into. So watching her when she was on stage and feeling her energy, and oh, okay, I can tell that she wants the music a little bit louder during this, and she's like looking over at me like, I know what that means. So just kind of knowing those cues and being tapped in, it made it so fun. Being able to just merge the lights with the music, and to really have these really deep experiences where they were just like breakthroughs for these women that really helped them to clear, stuff in their bodies and trauma that had been stored there for, past lifetimes. And, just it was so incredible. So yeah, from for this event, just from start to finish, it was like we're doing everything by the book. We're diving into this thing deep. We're committed. We could, my client was committed. She fed energy into us. We fed energy into her, and it just turned out to be this seamless experience for people that was, yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I'm still like integrating a lot of these pieces even months later of just how beautiful the entire experience was, and then also how profitable it was just to be a part of that and to see that energy and support that and to watch what's happened for her sense and her business sense and what she's able to do and what she's able to have has just been like it's exactly why I do what I do, is to see more of this in the world. So that's an example of when everything just is incredible and it just
Mm,
goes like right according to plan and then some and just takes it
yeah.
over the top.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's so it's so inspiring, right? To think that that can be that like what I'm trying to say is like everyone's energy is different from a perspective of what feels right, what feels aligned, like how to pour your energy into the world. And from a lot of my listeners will be familiar with human design. I
Mm,
don't know if you are at all.
I am
Um, it
generating.
You're a generator. I love it. I'm a manifesting generator. But when I work with clients who are projectors or manifestors, like their energy is different in the world. And so being able to to imagine, especially like thinking about like my manifestor clients who it's like gearing up for a big event, that initiation event, that like creating something and having it be just this beautiful, amazing thing, and then being able to like rest, right? That's a manifestor energy. Like
Mm, mhm,
just like that's the thing. That's the thing that you get to do. You get to put on this amazing event. It holds all of your energy, it holds all of your intention, and then you get to rest. And that's literally what their energy needs versus, being able like me being a manifesting generator or a generator that's like, no, we're going to do this event and then it's going to lead into this program and then that's going to lead into this other thing and then right? Like that makes sense to
mhm.
me. But it's so beautiful to see like that could be tailored to exactly whoever you like what you need, what you need for your business versus, you know, what I'm not hearing from you is like, here we do it this way, and then you do step two and step three, and everyone does this same process. And this is how you do an event that's good, right? It's like, it's so much more we're using the word intentional a lot, but it's so much more
Yeah.
intentional than that to be built around who is this creator and what is it that they need and what their goals are.
So true. So true. It's yeah, like we're also unique. Our imprints are unique and the way we run our businesses are unique, right? A lot of us that are, conscious entrepreneurs, right? And leading these heart-centered businesses, like we lead with our energy. The business is us. It is our energy imprinted on it. And so the way that we um be in the world, right, is just it's a representation of that. And so for me, I've learned so much about human design and the way that I run my business as a generator and making sure that I have all of my to-do lists and tasks because I'm basically telling my future self what to do and that way I can go through it and have my, list of things to do. And it's just it's beautiful. It's beautiful for me to be okay with that and for that to be like the way that I want to do business. And so because that's a belief for me, like I believe in that for all of my clients, like finding out the ways that you like to communicate. Some like to communicate, right? Everything all at once. And we want to meet and we want to just knock these things out. Others, they want a timeline of when to get these things done. And so even though we have a system and the things that we do need to make it a successful production, yeah, I'm really into, supporting their businesses and the way that they're running and integrating our team into their teams because a lot of the times they already have a system for themselves which
Mhm.
works. And so, I think that overall has been helpful to the success of like the way that we do things a little bit differently and bringing intention into those pieces. And, that being said, sometimes there are things out of our control that happen. I'll circle back to
Yes.
the question, the prompt before. And so, um, I was running an event, a few months ago, and, it was last minute. It was very last minute. The client wasn't sure if they were gonna fill all of the seats, which happens sometimes is it was a different way of marketing. They were trying some new things to fill the seats. Eventually got the seats filled that they wanted, and so then the last thing was to kind of contract for AV now that they knew the room size and all of those pieces, and so we did not have a lot of time to plan. However, it went off, smoothly the first day. We had some fun with the music. They were a great company to work with, very intentional about their industry, very caring. You could feel the passion. Um, and after the offer on the second day, we went to a break. And on that break, I had one of the hotel managers come up to me in just the most calm voice, and say, "So, there's a chance that there is a gas leak in this building, and we're gonna need everyone to evacuate,
Okay.
pretty quickly." And my first reaction was just like, When's the punchline coming? Like, this is a joke, right?" Like, we're in the middle of an event here. And he was like, "Yeah, we're not kidding. We probably have about 10, 15 minutes." And I was like, "Oh, wow. So this is happening." I was like, "Okay." So I got with the event coordinator and I was like, "Do we have a space where we can like gather the people and be in a safe area?" And she picked a beautiful spot in a quad area outside of the building. I grabbed one speaker, like one microphone, a camera, we grabbed an old projector and a screen, and we like hauled everything out as fast as we could. And sure enough, a few minutes after that, just like full alarm in the entire hotel. And the scary part was that on our way out, you could actually smell it. Like once
Oh,
you
wow.
smell the fresh air and then you go back in a little bit, you could smell the gas. And so we're like, whoa, like we had candles in certain rooms and I was like, it just like so scary. And it was just like, we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants at that point. We're just like, we have 5 hours left on this event. We just gave the offer. There's still some more, content that we want to deliver, some more value for the experience. And so let's find a way to like make this happen. And so it was totally just like, let's just keep on rolling and let's come together as a team and let's figure out just how to still give an experience. And it wound up being really beautiful in the end because the client turned that into um, a representation of what their company values are, which one of them was grit. And so just sharing with the audience, like this is another representation of who we are. We're just gonna come together. We're committed. We're gonna show grit. We're not folding here. And we're gonna still deliver in the best way that we know how. And then we wind up finishing the event. We moved it again into a Mexican restaurant that was like a block down. And so literally like client bought everyone like chips and margaritas and we had their speaker system in there and we finished the event in a Mexican restaurant. And it was just like, wow, this is wild. I've never experienced anything like this before. And sometimes you can't plan for things like that. There's just no way. There's no way to even imagine like what you're gonna do in that kind of moment. All you can do is really stay committed to the experience, to your people, to the value you want to give, and just kind of roll with it. And so everyone on the team kind of rolled with it. But yeah, it was just all like kind of a what reality are we living in right now kind of moment. It was wild.
Yeah, talk about just having to literally like go with the flow, right? Like had the structure, you had everything, like here's what it's supposed to be, and just getting the biggest curveball that you possibly could have been thrown and being like, all right, let's roll with it. And that to me, it like makes me feel like, oh, that's as crazy as it is, that's what was supposed to happen for whatever reason, right? Whatever, like there were lessons for literally everyone involved in that, right? Like from the participants to the provider to like all of that. Like, so that's so interesting. Like, what I would be really fascinated to see, like, what the participants had to say about that, right? Like, I'm sure there were
Mhm.
some that were maybe like disappointed that something happened. And then there are others that would probably say, like, wow, I can't believe that they kept going and it just made it work. And we ended up with chips and margaritas and right. Like
Mhm. Yeah, it was
that example of like, oh, you can, this, it can still, it doesn't have to be perfect.
mm,
It can still be perfectly imperfect.
exactly. I love what you just said there, that is all happening the way that it's supposed to, right? And it happened for a reason. And I hadn't considered this perspective before, but listening to you say that right now, it did really make me think, like, you know what? There were probably some clients that were on the fence about maybe joining that, and then after seeing, that commitment, that grit, that level of commitment, to the experience and to them, like, took it over the line, right? And into that. And so I love that perspective, that in some ways that was exactly what was meant to happen, and, in that moment. So,
Yeah, grace, anything that helps you demonstrate grace under pressure,
mhm,
right? That's the thing is that we all are afraid at some point in our lives, right? If you don't have experience with it, we're afraid that we're going to fold under pressure or if things go wrong, right? We're going to fall apart. And so to be thrown into a situation, right, where you get to choose if as the, the providers and the ones putting on the event, you get to choose if you're going to fold and
mhm,
throw a tantrum or, just be upset or give up. Or are you going to keep choosing like what's the next best thing? What's my best opportunity here? What's coming up? Right? I think it's genius that first you went outside and then you found a restaurant, right? Like that's the opportunity, right? Seeing that as opportunity versus seeing that as everything is falling apart. That takes so much like I love that, grit comes up. To me, it also sounds like inner courage, inner fortitude to be able to stay committed to the vision, stay committed to the
mm,
outcome
mhm.
that you are desiring for your clients. I think that's so huge. And I from a transformational standpoint, I can see like both of those stories that you told. Um, yeah, like the whole point is to put on an event that's going to help people transform their lives in some way, right? And those are two very different examples, but both very powerful.
Mhm. Both very powerful, and both the medicine that the, hosts probably needed, right? Whether that was to prove to themselves that they do have that and they do, like, just solidify that, or to know that they're capable of so much more and to break through to that next level. Like, whatever that is, there's always that opportunity. And so
Mm.
that's why it's such a mirror, it's such a journey. And that's why so many are called to, host events in some way, and they have that kind of voice come through from beyond, whether that's, something coming through them, just feeling that call to serve in a bigger way.
Mm. So if someone's listening to this conversation and they're like, "Yeah, I have been. I have had that vision. I have always been curious of what it would be like to like make this, vision I have a reality." How can they get a hold of you? How can they get to know you better? Like, what do you have going on, and what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, great questions. So, if you're curious, if you have that urge, if you're in the process of planning an event, then reach out to us, because we do have resources, where we can support, we can give you clarity, and I think that's the biggest thing that helps, early on, is to have that clarity. And so if you go to our website, www.liftedav.com, we have multiple resources there. And it's also the place where you can book a call with me. If you're planning an event, you want to know more, you want to look at numbers and just add that, have that information for your own budget, reach out and we're happy to give a proposal and take a look at the event, what you're planning, and provide clarity. And then we also have recommendations for event planners as well. That's usually where I send a lot of my clients first, is to work with a really professional event planner that's in the transformational industry. And so we have all that information that we're happy to provide. So that's the best place to connect with me if you're looking for any sort of events. We also support retreats as well, and we do videography for retreats. So if
Mm,
you're starting on a smaller scale and you're really hosting these more intimate retreats, and there's transformation that's occurring and you want to capture and tell some of the story of what magic is that you're creating, then we it's another passion of ours to create and support our clients in growing their businesses that way, if the retreats are a part of the model or a part of the vision there.
so, so beautiful. And if someone is maybe doesn't have a timeline yet, what's a good amount of time to, like, reach out? And maybe that's, like, for someone who is like, I have this idea, but I don't know when, or like, I need more help just, like, envisioning it. What's an appropriate amount of time? You mentioned on the second, example that the timeline was a little crunched.
Mhm.
What do you actually like to see? Like, what's ideal, and then what's, like, brainstorming stage, and then, like, ideal, like, let's get talking stage?
Yeah, I would say that, brainstorming stage is around 9 months to a year. So we already started getting events for 2025, and so we get booked sometimes years in advance. I have one date that's 2026 already, also, and so especially with venues, getting booked
Mm,
up and the popularity of events. I would say a year at least to start planning that vision, looking at some of those initial pieces, and then reverse engineering from there. And then it's after that, it's whenever you have dates booked, because that's the next step for us is dates and venue. So once the dates and the venue are locked in, that is the immediate appropriate time to then
mm,
look at audio visual as the next piece that you're going to need, because that will help to plan the experience and plan out what the room's going to look like. And we come in and just take all of those unknowns off of your plate at that point, taking care of the music and helping you to also pull out the brand essence and some of those pieces that you may not have full clarity on yet, and of course the videography as well, and getting clear on, if we're recording this, what are some of the assets that we can help to provide that will really help to amplify and extend this energy throughout time and space with video. So those are, and for everyone, that timeline is a little bit different. Like I said, sometimes we'll have last minute things come in and we, happen to be available and ready to take that on. Other times it's a year in advance. And so again, it comes down to how individuals work, right? Everyone's a little bit different in the way that they plan their events. And so we work with all the different archetypes.
mm. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for being here and for, like, talking. I feel like we got to talk, like, some nitty-gritty detail stuff, and, like, some really big picture stuff as well. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing time with me today. And all of your information for anyone who's listening, if you have questions, all the information is going to be down below in the show notes so that you can get a hold of Andrew. And if you heard anything, I say this every time, and I super truly mean it, that I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear what resonates for you. If this, like, helped encourage you to reach out to start, exploring your vision for an event or a retreat, love to hear it. I'd love to hear about it. And if you have more questions, or if Andrew and I need to have another conversation about events and what that could look like, let me know. I'm so open to hearing your feedback and hearing what's beautiful for you too. So, thank you, Andrew, for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Hannah. So appreciate your intention and just all of your beautiful questions and just the energy that you bring. So sending love to everyone listening and looking forward to hearing from you and connecting and hearing how this touched you. So
Mm,
blessings.
thank you. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe. And again, if anything resonated with you from this episode, I would love to hear from you. Email me at Hannah, HANNAH, at expansiveceo.com and tell me about it. And if you're ready for your greatest expansion, you can find ways to work with me at expansiveceo.com and at x2wealthplanning.com. That's X, the numeral 2, wealthplanning.com. So until next time, remember that there is enough, you are enough, and your birthright in this lifetime is to be expansive.